Why Africans didn't discover Madagascar first? Look at y'all Negroes so desperate to find excuses for the fact that your IQ was too low to build boats and sail the world like the white man did.
Man, shoot. Y'all Peckoids always act like we wasn't already around the world. The whole world used to be black. That means our civilization used to be black. Y'all white people always covering up our history. Why don't you just go ahead and shut your damn mouth?
Typical angry black man. What you gonna do? Get all violent with me? I know it's in your savage nature, but you should probably...
Greetings, denizens of the Empire. It's Shabara here. Every continent in the world has at least one or more large islands that has been inhabited for several millennia. Europe, for example, has the British Isles, Asia has Japan, and Australia has Tasmania. All of these lands have been inhabited long enough in the historical timeline to have developed their own unique languages, cultures, and historiographies that are totally distinct from their mainland counterparts. Africa, on the other hand, has an anomaly. Madagascar is the largest island in the vicinity of the African continent, yet it was inhabited relatively recently in history, roughly 500 years after the birth of Christ, and by people from Austronesia rather than the African continent itself. This reality is something that fuels many racist perceptions of African people, implying that they lack the skills, intellect, or ingenuity to explore the world or navigate the seas. However, like many other aspects of African history, new evidence suggests that this is nothing more than a misunderstanding. So, as we mentioned in our intro, large islands exist in the direct vicinities of all of the world's inhabited continents and have been home to prehistoric humans for tens of thousands of years. Easter Island, off the coast of South America, New Zealand, located southeast of Australia, and Madagascar near southeastern Africa being the notable exceptions. This trio of islands are generally accepted to be the last major landmasses in the world to become inhabited by human beings. It is easy to attribute this late settlement of Madagascar to the lack of ingenuity of Africans, but the simplest solution is not always the best, nor is the most racist or ignorant solution. The main reason why Madagascar was relatively late to the party is still pretty simple. The aforementioned Tasmanian, Japanese, and British Isles were not originally peopled by way of maritime voyages. In fact, they arrived there by land. That's right, they literally walked there. This is because, according to the archaeological record, the earliest human remains in these respective regions arrived tens of thousands of years ago, during a time in which much of the world's oceans were locked away into massive glaciers that dominated much of the northern hemisphere. As a result, sea levels were much lower, and thus many parts of the shallow waters in the immediate vicinities of continents consisted of dry, habitable land. Consequently, many of the world's islands were connected to the large landmasses nearest to them. This same phenomenon is believed to be how most Native Americans originally arrived from Asia, approximately 15 to 20,000 years ago, and the archaeological record tends to corroborate that pattern, as sites in North America are consistently older than those in South America. So, given all of that context, I'm sure you're probably now wondering, why didn't the exact same thing happen with Madagascar? Why didn't people simply walk there from Africa like they did in Britain, Japan, and Tasmania? Well, before we answer that, have you ever considered trying some traditional medicinal southern African herbs like kana? Or those from West Africa like akawama? Or if you're feeling even more adventurous, maybe even try some from Polynesia like kava, or my personal favorite from Southeast Asia. I've been using Happy Hippo Herbals products for nearly 2 years now, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that they have literally made my life better. I cannot even begin to tell you how immensely they've helped with my levels of focus, relaxation, energy, and peace of mind. You can order a free sample pack if you want to see for yourself by simply following the link down below, and if you are happy with these wonderful traditional medicinal herbs, you can get 15% off all future purchases by using my personal discount code FN10. So, while prehistoric human populations were able to migrate on foot to places like Britain, Japan, Tasmania, and even the Americas, this was virtually impossible to do from Africa to Madagascar. Even with the dramatically reduced sea levels, Madagascar was still disconnected from the African continent by hundreds of miles of open water. This is because, unlike Britain, Japan, and Tasmania, the seas that separate Madagascar from the African continent are much deeper, a pattern that is repeated throughout the whole of the continent. Africa, in comparison to all other continents of the world, is a much more stable landmass, with far fewer shallows surrounding it, and consequently, with the exception of the Mediterranean coast, the overall shape of the continent has changed very little since the melting of the glacial cover of the Ice Age, and in comparison to those observed on other continents. Contrary to popular belief, the earliest inhabitants of Madagascar would have been Stone Age foragers who led a nomadic lifestyle. It is not known whether or not these early inhabitants permanently occupied Madagascar or visited seasonally, but evidence of their arrival long before the creation of the island's first permanent settlements is quite conspicuous. Cut marks have been discovered on the bones of a Paleopithecus, a large animal related to lemurs that is now extinct. These findings were discovered in Talom Bibi, located in southwestern Madagascar, and have been radiocarbon dated to between 402 and 204 BCE, or nearly 1,000 years earlier than the earliest known settlements. More cut marks were discovered on the bones of the Hippopotamus lemerle, an extinct species of hippopotamus notable for its small size, a product of insular dwarfism, a phenomenon endemic to animals that inhabit islands. Changes in pollen and charcoal found in the sediments of the region have also been associated with human occupation, and date back to around 1 CE. The aforementioned animal bones represent the earliest known evidence of human habitation on Madagascar ever uncovered, and have been radiocarbon dated to around 2288 to 2035 BCE. However, both of these sites have a lack of human remains or artifacts. The lack of more tangible artifacts can be attributed to the fact that human remains don't last very long, not even the skeletons. In the tropics, they usually degrade into dust within as little as 6 to 30 years. The earliest inhabitants would have also arrived during a time when ceramic technology had not yet reached this part of Africa. However, the cut marks in the bones are easily distinguishable from tooth and claw marks of predators, and microlithic technology recovered from surrounding areas offers undeniable evidence of human habitation of Madagascar prior to the Iron Age settlements that were founded 2,000 years later. In any regard, these findings push the earliest date of human occupation of Madagascar back by 2,000 years. It is hypothesized that these early settlers of the island, or Proto-Malagasy populations, would have been a composite of coastal East African and Indonesian genetics. The stone tool technology uncovered from the period resembles the same type found in late Stone Age East Africa. The earliest known evidence of human occupation prior to this discovery was associated with Iron Age settlers between the years of 256 and 573 CE, as evidenced by an Iron Age archaeological site excavated at Lakaton I Anja in northern Madagascar. The oldest known villages date back to no later than 700 CE, a point at which substantial towns and settlements began forming, featuring the island's first ceramics, as well as imported goods and other items associated with trade, including weights and numerous storage vessels. Contrary to popular belief, these early Iron Age farmers were not purely of Austronesian descent. The Malagasy people show strong genetic and linguistic evidence that links them with the peoples of southeastern Borneo, but some linguistic influences from Indonesian languages is also evident from around 500 to 700 CE. East African Bantu languages and genes become a significant part of the ethnic makeup of Malagasy between 800 and 1200 CE, but continued to play a part in Malagasy history all the way up to the present day. The complex history of this large African island is still being pieced together day by day, and remains spotty at best, but regardless, I hope you still enjoyed this very short video shedding light on one of Africa's many misunderstood historical topics. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and consider joining our community Discord server. For sources, check out my website, linked below. If you'd like to support future projects, you can do so there as well, or by clicking the join button below, or by becoming a patron. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching as usual, and always remember, we don't come from nothing.